Okay, and we'll turn our attention to George Marsh, our drummer. Is drummer right? Is it okay to say drummer, or would you rather be called percussionist?
Well, I'm a percussionist and a drummer, I guess. You could call me a drummer because I play a drum set. But also I play instruments that are in the percussion family, like gongs, the temple blocks, and steel drum behind me, and other assorted things. Anything that happens to be around, actually. Okay, first of all, I have a basic drum set, which consists of a bass drum, snare drum, some tom-toms, and some cymbals. And then to that I've added some gongs, and some temple blocks, which also have some bells with them, and a steel drum.
Hey, George, you know, one of the things I think we should try to get into before this thing is out is your work with African music, because that's something that's very rarely incorporated into the body of music that we're dealing with, and you've done it so well. I think, why don't you rap to people about that?
Yeah, I studied with a master drummer named Kwasi Badu, and he's from Ghana, and he came to San Francisco a couple years ago, and I studied with him for about a month and learned a whole slew of rhythms that I'm still deciphering. And some of them have ended up on the drum set, and I think that we could play something over a few of these rhythms. Oftentimes, when I work in the studio, I might decide to add something to the music that's just been recorded. Now, for instance, after listening to this music, I decided that claves, shaker, and maybe cowbell would add to the excitement. You'd be surprised how much this is done these days.
How old were you when you first started, when you had your own drum set, and you were seriously on your way to being a drummer?
I think I got my first set when I was 14. And I think that set consisted of a snare drum and a hi-hat. And from listening to records, I just knew what to do. I mainly taught myself. And, you know, I did pretty well, except there were a few mistakes that I made that I have just recently cleared up, you know. And that was, I've been playing for about 16 years. So I would advise that, you know, anyone starting to try to find a good teacher, but there weren't any good teachers in Belleville, Illinois. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. One of the main problems is they try to play real fast right away. Everybody does that. Immediately, that's the most important thing, is to play real fast. And they don't understand that if you play totally relaxed and you play, you know, not extremely fast, but with a real relaxed feeling, that the speed comes naturally. You know, and that's an important thing to learn. And I have to keep reminding myself, too.
drummer and as an artist, how do you see yourself? What do you see your role is, besides taking care of tempo and time and the other basics of drumming? What else is your relationship with your art? Where would you like to see it go?
I'd like to just continue to be able to express myself as best as I can on the instrument. You know, I feel like I have a lot of work to do still, you know. I'm a student of the drums. And I'm also a teacher of the drums too, you know. And I would like to be able to continue to let what is inside of me, which comes from all the music that I hear, you know, I'd like for that to come out. And it's like, it's not really me that's coming, the music's coming through me. And that's pretty much the approach we use when we play free. You know, it's like we play together and the sound comes out and we don't think about the sound. I don't think about the sound. I don't think Denny or Mel generally think about it. You just play because you know your instrument and you react to the music that's happening around you, and it comes out in specific languages, I suppose, that you've practiced and worked on and studied, you know.
Just our monitor.
And
Okay.
music happens. If they're going to play a lot of rock, which most kids are, they should learn how to play with their right foot. We're talking about right-handed people, with their right foot in their left hand, you know, like play rhythms like that. I mean, that's the real source of all the rhythms, I would say, in rock music. With the sounds that we hear, you know, we can react to you could react to just the decay of a cymbal. You know, if that strikes a feeling in you, you can then play something else that just comes out. You don't even think about it, you just play. And that sound makes you hear something else. You might even hear beats between two sounds, you know, which would set up a tempo. That's possible. See, that's the degree of subtlety that could happen.
Bill coming? What time we can start?
Here he is.
Hi, Bill.
How you doing? I'm Tom, and this is Ed. And this is George.
How would you say George Marsh on there? Could you say Kwasi Badu on there?
See. Oh, my name?
Your name?
Kwasi. Kwasi. Badu.
Could you do it faster?
Yeah. Kwasi Badu Brampong. You call anybody name, you call Brampong. Brampong is a gentleman.
Right.
You call my name. I mean, go. Can't stop.
You wouldn't call him right.
Yeah.
When I was studying African drumming, one of the most interesting things that Kwasi had us do was to play the same rhythm over and over again. The whole class did this. And then Kwasi would play all these fantastic rhythms on top of it. Like this rhythm the whole class was playing was chicka chickum, 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 chicka chickum.
I kind of get the feeling too that I don't know if this is it, but they do things like they play a little dedication to, for instance, the elephant or the tree, as to the spirit of the elephant or the tree, and dedication to them for for using the elephant's ear for when you cut down the tree. They do this as a kind of a religious ceremonial thing before they play.
Supposedly there's really a heavy thing they go through when they cut down the tree. They can make a lot of drums out of one of these trees.
Right.
And there's a religious ceremony.
Right. The spirit of the tree. Everything has a spirit.
Since he's a master drummer, he would be leading and making sure everyone was playing the right rhythm, really keeping tabs of everything. And a lot of times a master drummer wouldn't be playing hardly anything at all. He would be listening mainly to hear that everything was balanced correctly. So he hears each individual part, and he hears the total mosaic too, because in African music the simple parts fit together to form something that as a whole sounds very complicated, and not just complicated but beautiful and very intricate. If you take each individual rhythm out of context, then each rhythm is very simple. Most of the time they're very simple, and a lot of the rhythms you can hear in jazz music, like ding-ka-ding, 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 ding-ding. Like you hear that all the time. That's the ride cymbal rhythm for a jazz drummer. So anyway, to get back, Kwasi used a click track and overdubbed each part himself, because he was the only one there. There weren't any other drummers.
Explain what that is, because
Yeah,
overdubbing
click
is difficult, and
Yeah.
so is click track.
Okay,
Right.
in the studio, a lot of times you're by yourself in the studio, say, and you want to keep a steady tempo for 5 minutes. So you put on a metronome that's fed to you through an earphone, and then you listen to that and use that as a guide to play whatever rhythm you're playing. So the way Kwasi used this click track was he first of all, he played the cowbell rhythm, and he played it listening to the click track, and this was recorded. And then this was played back to Kwasi. Kwasi heard the cowbell and the click track, and he put another instrument on the tape. Anyway, Kwasi tackled the problem of being the only drummer there who was going to play by recording one part at a time, until finally he had built himself a complete drum piece. And each of those parts you could adjust the volume on so that the final product or the final sound that came out could be adjusted to sound just right.
young quay. Bunyan compass Chibo Mofo. See, I'm praying this, I may stop. With the Prapro didn't for more cotton. Different.
What are all those things you just did?
Yeah, and this they called the king coming.
The king is coming.
Yeah, you call. You play the talking drum, talk. Say, Abrampong or Henny, my home minister. Say, my home minister say, you got up. You got up. Still, the king stay home, no get up, come to outside.
All of these are to get the king to come
Yeah,
out and
come out and
come
sit
in,
down,
come
sit
in,
down
come in.
and-
Before they see the king come in, pray. You march through. You march through. The drummer tell the king, you watch on the ground. No spoil your food.
That was you just played?
Yeah.
When they're learning the talking drums, they have a lot of poems that they learn first, and the way they play the sounds in relation to the words is the way he played Kwasi Badu. It's just like you tap the rhythm of the word out, or the
Right.
series of words, and but if you learn these poems, you get you kind of get a handle on how you do this.
Or here your boot now and toast. Your boot now and toast, like I say. Or here Benum Blejo. Or here Benum Bressa.
So that's what he's running down now, is the basic chops
Right, the drum talk.
for talking drums.
There's another type of drum talk which they use just nonsense syllables. In other words, there's words that really don't mean anything, but they use them to learn how to play the instrument. Like in East Indian music, they have syllables that don't mean anything, but those are the sounds of the drums. They also have sounds that don't mean anything in African drumming too, but these particular things have meaning.
Those are called burden texts.
Right, text just for
Which
learning
means
the
they
instrument.
carry the rhythm, but they don't mean anything anymore. They did possibly originally.
Right.
A master drummer can sing and play every part in any dance that's going on. He can demonstrate to someone what the vocal equivalent is. Maybe they'll be able to remember it, like sang, 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 sang.
Cricket, 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 tanky, cricket, 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 tanky, cricket, 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 cricket. Pinimpa, 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 pinim, pinim, pinimpa, 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 pinim, pinim, pinimpa, 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 pinim, pinim, pinimpa. Tadantin, 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 din, 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 tandidin, tantidin, tandin, tintidin, tadantin, tantidin, tadantin, tintin, tintin, tantidin, tintin, tantidin, tintin, tantidin. Tikatindin kenti, etikatindin kenti, tikatindin kenti. Odi krome huna mani, odi krode krakuju, odi krome huna mani, odi krode krakuju, tikatindin kenti, tikatindin kenti, tikatindin kenti, tikatindin kenti.
That's nice.
Thank you.
What is making that noise? Tony Cirone is a percussionist. If I were to say that he was a drummer, what would you say? Or
Well,
would?
the connotation of a drummer could mean a person that plays the drum set, the trap set.
Uh-huh.
So I play a little drum set.
But mostly you're a percussionist, which
Yeah.
covers a much wider range of instruments.
You got to learn how to juggle these sticks around. That's
Yeah.
the whole key. When you learn, usually you learn on the snare drum first, or maybe the drum set. I like to teach the beginners just the snare drum, just first to get the hands. But just studying the snare drum is only part of what is required for a percussionist. The xylophone and the mallet instruments require a lot of technique and a lot different from the snare drum. The xylophone is made of wood, very high-pitched, and it's played with a very hard mallet, hard plastic mallet, and it gets a very brilliant sound. Now, there's one little solo written by Shostakovich, and it's really a cute little thing because it's a solo written with a lot of wrong notes in it. You know, it's
Wrong notes?
Yeah, well, the dissonances sound like wrong notes. Now, there's one more. I'd like to play that solo from Porgy and Bess for you. The thing about this one is that the sticking is very hard. It's not just one hand after another all the time. Parts of it we have to double stick and cross over. That's what makes it hard. For a piano player, it's easy.
What's next?
Let's do the orchestra bells.
They look a lot like the xylophone and the marimba.
Well, this now is metal, very solid steel. All right. One of the pieces that really is very difficult is the Sorcerer's Apprentice by Paul Dukas. And Paul Dukas wrote this one section to sort of give the feeling of water splashing out of the bucket.
What's next? What are we going to do
All
next?
right, the vibraphone. Now, the vibraphone has the same keyboard.
How old is this instrument, the vibraphone?
It's used first in the early jazz music. Now, I can't really give you a year. See, you'll notice, now on the vibraphone, we have this little motor over here. See? And there's a little fan under each bar. See?
Mm-hmm.
And the motor turns that fan.
Oh.
See? Now, when I play the vibraphone without the motor, with the sustaining pedal, it sounds like this. Now, when I turn the motor on, it sounds like this. And we also can slow the vibration down like this. So
Is that called a vibrato?
vibrato?
Vibrato.
Vibraphone, see,
Right.
vibrating, instrument. We use the instrument both with the motor and without the motor. This is another instrument in the mallet family, but it's played much differently.
These are
Chimes.
chimes.
Now we have to do the non-pitched percussion. Now these are crash cymbals, and the cymbal player in an orchestra is really a specialist, because cymbals is a very special art. Just because you're a percussionist really doesn't mean you can play cymbals well. It takes a lot of imagination to play cymbals. The bass drum is one of the standard instruments in the orchestra. We use the center area of the bass drum to play, because we have to get the lowest sound, the lowest possible sound. Sometimes they want to roll.
Okay, what's next?
We haven't heard the gong yet. The gong, it's used for its enormous sound and color it adds to the orchestra. Triangle, very simple instrument, and normally you play on a triangle where it sounds best, because triangles have different sounds, and you try to find a very good sound. Yeah, difference in pitch. A roll on a triangle is just single strokes within one of the angles. Or loud.
Now, is this pitched?
No, no definite pitch. Although you can hear a lot of different little notes in there. That's a lot of overtones. You can hear a note. You certainly can hear notes, but it's not meant to have any particular note. Just a very high sound.
Yeah.
Right. Now we have a tambourine, which is a very common instrument, both in the rock field and in the symphonic field. See?
Yeah.
To play the same kind of rhythms very soft, we have to sort of balance it on our leg and play with both fingertips of both hands, alternating it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that hard. It just takes a little practice. Now, I have many, many small percussion instruments, each one of them giving a very special characteristic sound. When we play woodblock, to get a good, firm, round tone, I like to use a rubber mallet. For simple things, you use one stick. If you have very complicated parts, then you'd put it down and play with snare drum sticks. And we have castanets. Some of our instruments, like the ratchet, all they do is make a lot of noise. Great for New Year's Eve,
Exactly. What's next?
Latin American instrument called a guiro, or a scratcher.
That's a really neat sound, yeah.
And the maracas, too, have their characteristic sound. And rhythm characteristics. We have a pair of sandpaper blocks, which, again, are used for many different effects. One is the effect of a train, you know, rumbling on the tracks. And, of course, when you have a train, you got to have a train whistle.
Oh, yes. Oh, that I want. What is
Now,
this?
this is a siren.
Oh, that's great.
It's a real old siren.
Yeah, and then it's got the little spinning thing up there.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I have here 2 cowbells. Now, as you can see, one cowbell has this beater inside. Now, that's the cowbell that the cow wears, you know. And as he walks in the field, you know, that beater makes the sound. But in the orchestra, we use the cowbell without the beater because we have to play certain rhythms, so we have to use a stick. Now, I have a few more sound effects, and these are sounds of animals, straight from the vaudeville shows. The cuckoo. Nightingale.
Oh, that's neat. And what's this?
This is my duck. And I have here a little pig. Now this one, you can also do a cow with this. It's a little hard though.
Yeah.
And I have my famous dog bark.
What is making that noise?
Hi. Hello.
Latin music is rhythm. It's, very heavy in the rhythm.
Latin people are rhythm. I mean, we could dance with just this. Right. I mean, right. That's another thing that you have to understand about Latin music. That Latin music is mostly for dancing. You know what I mean? So like a lot of these new type things that we play are actually new dances, and they, on account of the dance, it gets adapted to the music. But the pattern and the rhythm construction of the whole thing, it might be the same, but that we've been playing for rumbas or whatever long time before. You know what I mean? Just a little more modernized or a little
variations to it, you know.
But actually, it's the dance, the one that makes the difference.
So when you play places, it's almost always people are dancing when you play
Oh,
at
yes,
clubs?
yes.
Oh, yes.
You almost always play at dance
always,
places,
yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, you know, you play concerts, but I mean, with the Latin music, people can't help but dance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very hard to sit still. You want to go and dance, and so like Latin music is just for dancing. Actually, but what makes it exciting is this rhythm. all Latin music is related to clave.
Oh, yeah.
All of it. The authentic way of playing it is like that. Now sometimes they reverse it, and instead of starting like this, then they start.
No.
So you
Tito
have two
Rodriguez had a
claves
crazy
rhythms.
way
No,
of
it's one
playing
clave.
things, though,
It's
huh?
one clave. It's the same thing. It's like it's the clave is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2.
Funny, we go out there, we can't play.
A lot of people are playing Latin music, and you tell them something about clave, and they don't know. Of
That's
course,
why
you know,
they cannot play it.
Yeah, it's
Really?
If you don't have
If
that,
that clave accent
that's the
is
whole
not
feeling
there,
of it.
the
That's
whole
the
band.
pulse.
Escucha usted la esencia del guaguancó. Escucha usted la esencia del guaguancó. La tumba que ya te llama y el tambor que te reclama y un coro que dice así. Y un coro que dice así.
Actually, a complete rhythm section of Latin music consists of timbales, congas, bass, bongoses, a guy singing which usually plays güiro, or if you have two singers, one plays güiro and the other one is playing hand cowbell. And that's the whole rhythm, plus the piano, of course.
Maracas also.
Maracas, yeah, right. You know, could be playing either handbell or maracas. The singers usually do that. And that's a complete rhythm section of Latin music.
conga drums is just like a popular name for those drums, but they really have another name?
Yeah, well, in Spanish they're called tumbadoras.
Tumbadoras, right.
I mean, they all are called
In other words, they're
tumbadoras.
called tumbadoras.
Right.
All the drums,
All-
even
all-
bongos?
No, bongos are bongos.
Bongos,
Bongo
okay.
drums are the little ones, you know.
So
ones
just
you-
the congas are called really
Right.
tumbadoras. is what it is.
Tumbadoras, yeah.
Actually, going back to Latin music, let's say 50 or 60 years ago, they did not use congas or bongos on the bands or the dance bands at that time. You know, they became popular after the Afro people started using it, and then the white people started digging them, so they start adjusting them to the bands.
On those other instruments that you hear in Latin bands, like maracas, is that maracas? Where do they come from? Where do they come
Well,
from?
maracas are just it's a
Toys,
thing
huh?
that they added into the rhythm. Let's put it that way. You know, it's adapted to the music. Then certain things were added, extra added attractions to it. Like for example, maracas came over, güiros. I remember when I was a kid, which is quite a while ago.
In Cuba?
No, I was
were
born
you
in
in
Panama,
Cuba?
but
You were
I
in
lived
Panama.
in Panama, Cuba, Puerto Rico, Santo Domingo. We all have, around the Caribbean, it's the same kind of music. Now, each country has their own typical music. You know what I mean? Like, for example, in Cuba, it's what they call danzón. Danzón is folklore music of Cuba. In Panama, it's called tamborito. In Puerto Rico, it's called seis chorreado. In Santo Domingo, it's called merengue, which is also popular in the type dance of today. But merengue is the
Merengue.
typical music of Santo Domingo. But yet, all of us, this is our music. Latin music, Cuban music, what they call música cubana, which is, that's the music of all.
Where's the mambo from?
It's also from Cuba. Mambo was invented by Perez Prado. See, Perez Prado was the one that invented.
He invented it, so it's a modern rhythm.
Yeah, well, it's invented about 20 years ago.
Can you play a mambo?
Yeah, well, it's based on the same rudiments that we play all other type of music. The only thing with the mambo is that the horn and the special effects that he made for the music, that became mambo, and the way that people dance it. Mambo actually became like a riff that the horn section will do, and that's a mambo. Then comes in the arrangement after the mambo will come a montuno or a bajeo or solo.
Percussion is another program in the series Music Makers, which is produced and presented as a public service by Standard Oil Company of California.
Say something. What's the name of your band?
What? Caribbean Reveler Steel Orchestra, that's it.
Ah, I see. And where are you from? Trinidad, everybody?
Yes. Well, the West Indies.
Yeah. Kinds of drums?
Well, we have 4 different types of drums here today. The bass drums.
Bass drums?
Yeah.
How do they sound?
Something like this.
Okay, so we got the bass drums.
And we have the cellos.
Cellos? Okay, now what's this?
These are the guitars.
Guitar drums?
Yeah, they're tuned to sound exactly like a guitar. Sounding something like this.
Now what's this?
This is a tenor.
Okay, now here you are.
Right, these are second pans, right? These play like chords.
I'd never seen a steel drum before.
Right.
It used to be an oil tank.
All right. Ordinary, well, you call them garbage drums or the
oil drums.
Oil drums, anything.
Who ever thought of the idea of using an oil tank to make a drum?
Well, that started sometime after the Second World War in Trinidad.
VJD.
That was the day when
Yeah.
the steel drums were started. Why?
Well, they were celebrated or something like that. And they just picked up any old drum or anything. I mean, they couldn't buy instruments in those days. So they just picked up any pieces of can or anything. It wasn't like this at the start. In those days, it was just one, it wasn't a whole band, you know, just 1 or 2 guys just picked them up and played any old thing, not a song or anything like that. And then they found where they could get a different song here and there. And got more notes, and over the years it developed. On Carnival days, I mean,
what you wouldn't do normally, you do it on those days just because of rhythm.
Do people shout and wave their arms and?
Right. They forget about everything else.
Kids get lost, people forget where they were living if you came from out of town. And it's real good because you see people by the thousands and they all flock to hear the bands.
Do they play it in the streets?
Right.
Yeah.
For 2 days.
It's the greatest in the world.
have, of course, Lou Bellson on drums, Herb Ellis on the guitar, Ray Brown on bass, and Ross Tompkins on piano. But you have a lot of equipment in front of you, Lou.
Well, I have a very unique setup. I use the two bass drums, and I have two pedals to operate it with the left foot. I have the hi-hat and the left bass drum. And then, of course, I have a series of tom-toms here. Now you've got combinations with the feet and the hands. Right. Now I'll play a series of few bars just using the right bass drum. If we were playing a normal tune, and I would be playing like with the sticks, I'd be doing this. That's pretty straight down the middle time. Now, if I was going to do something a little more intricate, if the tune allowed it, where I would use the other bass drum with accentuations in and out of the beat, then I would make this kind of a sound.
That's fantastic. Could you do the same thing, a shortened version of what you just did, eliminating the hands, so we could hear exactly what you were doing with your feet?
With the feet? Yeah, right. Okay. I'll bring it into this simplicity first, then get it into the. Yeah. So I'm playing this.
Fantastic. You're actually doing the work of three drummers, then, I would say. At least three drummers.
Yeah, you can actually do a lot with the double bass drums. But then the secret there again too is to not overshadow Ray, because for me in rhythm section I lean on Ray
on the bass,
because to me the bass is really the bass, and so I try to not disturb what he's doing. That's why I say I'm very particular as to what tune we're playing, and if it calls for a lot of accentuations, then I want to make sure that I'm in accord with Ray.
Do you have to have more control when you play it softly?
Yes.
Than when you play it loud?
I think it's much more difficult to play softer than loud. In jazz playing, especially with a drummer, the natural pulsation is on 2 and 4. If you ever see a drummer clapping his hands on 1 and 3, you better be a little careful. The natural pulsation is on 2 and 4.
Lou, in your head when you're playing, do you have a feeling for what's going on, or are you actually counting?
I think you're in trouble when you start counting. It's like watching a dancer on stage. They're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3. You're so busy counting that you don't forget to feel it. You know, this is strictly. It's got to be something that's felt. My one comment to the young or to the student drummer is that you're dealing with an instrument. You know, I can go back 30 years ago when they used to say 18 musicians and a drummer, but that no longer happens. The drummer today is an integral part of the organization. He has to develop a touch on his instrument. Exactly. There are no shortcuts. Learn to sweat a little bit. My father used to say, sweat a little bit, that's good for you. That means something's happening.
There's something special about the drums that enables you to set up a foundation, a rhythmic foundation for other people to play on. It's a responsibility that you have to do. It's a joy that you have. With the drums, you have the capacity to create a mood for any amount of people. It doesn't matter if you're playing in a club, if you're playing in a hall, if you're playing in the streets at a carnival. You create the scene that's happening. You can make people dance with what you do. With what you play, the other musicians play off of that, play on top of it. You set up a mood for them to play on top of. Right now we just play a rhythm, playing off of this rhythm that's on the drums. Everybody comes in one by one just to start a groove,
to get a feeling happening. Take your time with it and let the groove happen. Let it start to roll, you know. Before you know it, everybody's dancing, you know. That's what's so nice about the drums. It's that quality about drums. Any kind of drums that you play, or any kind of drums that you hear, there's that kind of quality about it that makes people move. It's the rhythm. It's the rhythm of the drums that makes people move. Before you know it, you got the whole classroom dancing. Even the teachers are dancing. Check and see if your teacher's dancing. Things that you can do while playing on a rhythm like this, but the main concern is to keep it in the rhythm, to lock it in there so that it settles. Kind of like when you're driving a car. First you just ease into first gear to get it going. And once you pass through second gear and into third gear or fourth gear, you just let it sit there, you know. If you're on the freeway driving, you don't be shifting down to second gear, you just let it ride, you know. You just let it ride on the freeway at 60 miles an hour so that it keeps a steady pace. And it's just like that with drums, where you want to keep it a steady pace, because that's what rhythm is about. To keep it steady and to let it ride that way. So that you have a smooth ride, you know, throughout the music. Way to start, if you have a feeling that you like to play, is to take your favorite record that you like right now, go out and buy your favorite record and go buy a pair of drumsticks at the music store and sit down maybe on a rug. Just sit down on the floor and play with the record and get used to the feeling of playing. Listen to the drummer and get used to the feeling of playing with him and listen to what he's doing. Just you can even do it in school during the class, you know, but not too loud. Have the song running through your head and keeping a rhythm to it, you know. Think about how you would play it. Think about what the drummer is doing. If you have even the slightest desire to play the drums, you should consider yourself lucky. Not that it's easy, not that it's an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of work like anything else. There's so much satisfaction in it if you can get it together.
When do we start? What do we do?
We're doing it, believe it or not.
Oh.
It's Elayne Jones, timpanist for the San Francisco Symphony. How do you say how to do on a timpani?
How do you do?
Yeah, just how to do. Oh, how do you do? Hey, that's not bad. Say, tell me, how early did you start playing? I mean, did you start getting serious about a drum?
Well, let me tell you exactly how it happened.
Right.
I think it's an interesting story. I was a pianist from the age of 6, and my mother started me on the piano, and so I played the piano until I was of high school age, through junior high school. And in junior high school, I took an exam to go to a very, very fine school in New York City called Music and Art High School. And I took the audition on piano. Now, when I got into music and art, I had to take an orchestral instrument. And at that time, I wanted to take a violin. And they wouldn't let me take the violin because they said I was too skinny.
I don't understand that one.
Well, I don't understand that either, but hindsight led me to realize that the reason they didn't give me the violin is because in those days, black people were not a part of anything else but the rhythm section.
Well, even at that time, there weren't any blacks in any of the major orchestras
Oh,
in
no,
any
of course
positions,
not.
were there?
There were no black musicians in anything other than jazz.
Yeah.
So they gave me the drums with two things in mind. That as a black person, all black people have rhythm, and as a girl, I probably wouldn't pursue it anymore. It's only now we're beginning to accept the cliche of all blacks having rhythm, as I'll show you through the demonstration, because rhythm does come from Africa. And if you analyze European music, you find that European music did not have the kind of rhythm that you get from Africa. In other words, the influence of Africa is what gave the rhythm to European music, classical music.
Do you have any idea how far back you could trace? The first influences of, say, the African music into European music.
I can say that Beethoven had a bit of it because it's been not really substantiated, but the idea has been that Beethoven was part black, that he had a black grandmother.
Yeah.
And if you listen to the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven, especially in the choral section, there is a very beautiful rhythmic interlude there.
Could you do that now?
I'd have to sing this section, Wait a minute. So sometimes when I play for the kids, I'll deliberately accent the backbeat.
That's nice.
Yeah, I think there's a hypnotism about African rhythms. They're cross rhythms and they're cross tonalities and feelings, and yet they're very simple.
You tune it by tightening the head, is that correct?
Right. Now when I push down on the pedal, what I'm doing is stretching the head, right? So when I push down on the pedal, you get this. Now when I release that, you get this.
Many composers make use of that sound.
Oh, yeah, Bartok. Bartok starts the sonata for two pianos and percussion. It goes. It's in the sonata for two pianos and percussion, and then in the concerto for orchestra, there is one passage where the whole orchestra is playing, and the timpani ends that passage with. And that's it.
Nice and subtle
It sounds
touch.
like a joke, but it's just so beautiful. It just comes in so beautifully. And of course, Rossini has sort of indicated that for the thunder. In an opera called La Cenerentola, he wants to have the effect of an impending storm. So we put this one.
Now, just in terms of technique, this will be interesting. I'm putting you on the spot. Could you carry an unbroken roll across the four timpani? How do you say the plural? Timpani or timpani?
Well, timpani is already plural.
Oh, it's already plural.
Right.
Okay. Could you carry a roll? Now on two of them at the same time.
You like this? Debussy uses that quite a bit, the Impressionist composers. They have a lot of... You can actually hear the harmony.
Right, the overtones in it.
Yeah. When you roll this way, you hear only one note, right?
Right.
And here, but here you get the interval of a fifth.
Necessary
for
for
instance,
that.
I play a thing of Beethoven. He uses just two notes. You see? Remember those are just two notes, right? That's in fifths. Then later on, Beethoven did the outlandish thing of tuning the timpani in octaves. You had. Right. That's the scherzo movement of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Right.
Now, as you see that when we have four instruments like this, I'm able to get four different notes without changing. Now I could play, let me just demonstrate. Now see if you can identify this.
That's a dirty trick to play.
Okay. Well, listen.
With my ear, I know that was absolutely on pitch.
Well, not quite there.
Okay. Thank you, Elayne Jones, principal timpanist for the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra.
I haven't seen many people who would play music and would say that it's not good to do it, because it's such a great thing to do. It's something really incredible, and it's a whole human being in all his moods and everything, yeah, which is expressed through instruments. Da dinna da tinna 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 da tere kit da dinna da tere kit da dinna da tak tere kit da dinna da dinna tere kit da dinna tere kit da dinna da gid na tak tere kit da dinna da gid na tak tere kit da dinna da tere kit tak da dinna tak tere kit da dinna Dhargat da dinna Dhargat da dinna Kran da dinna Takatarik da dinna Katada.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Zakir.
Hi, I'm Marjorie. I see you have two tabla.
Yes, actually it's a pair of tabla, and they have two separate names. The right hand, which is a treble drum, is known as tabla, and tabla, not tabla. And the left hand drum, which is a bass drum, is known as baya, and they are together known as tabla.
Tabla. bass drums are considered sacred. In
Actually,
a way,
the
aren't they?
Indian music comes from the temples, from the religious places. And whenever you play Indian music, you are actually sort of meditating and worshipping your God, your supreme being which you have in your mind. And therefore, wherever you are sitting and doing that becomes a sacred place. And therefore, we try to keep that place as clean as possible. Like I wouldn't walk into a temple or a mosque with my shoes on. And so I wouldn't do that when somebody's playing a concert on a platform. I wouldn't sit up on it with my shoes on and all that, you know?
A few minutes ago, I was pounding on your drums a little bit.
Well, you were just kind of testing them, you know.
But
and actually, this is how it is. Since, whenever I'm playing for some new people, I let them feel my drums, and let them get used to it, let them to know it better. And I believe that if I can do that much of a sacrifice, I'm sure it's for the good of the music.
When you play, I've heard that you articulate syllables.
Oh yes, we have our own language. There is a whole rhythm language, just like there are notes and in melodic form of music, we have notes and syllables for rhythmic form of music. Like, let me show you some of those, the right-hand drum has its own separate syllables, and the left-hand drum has its own separate syllables. And then you combine them together and make phrases. Like, for right-hand drum, we have a syllable called na, which is N-A, na, like that's na. That's na. And then we have a stroke called ta, which is T-A, and that is ta. Then we have a stroke called thun, which is T-H-O-O-N, and it goes like this. Thun. And then we have a stroke called titta, and titta goes like. And we have a stroke called tira, which goes like. And then we have another stroke called tira, which goes like playing with the palm of your hand and not with your fingers, like that. And these strokes are combined together with the bass drum stroke, which are very few actually, like ka, K-A, ka. Then we have kat. Then we have ga. Then we have ghe. And we have ghe. And so on. And so we combine all these together, and like na and ga together, na, and this is na, and this is ga. And if you combine them together, it becomes dha, D-H-A, like, now that's dha combined together. And then you can combine ti and ra, and the stroke which is ka, which could also be known as ki. This is ki, this is ti and ra and ta, and if you combine them together, you get a phrase called tira ki ta, like that. And then we have a stroke called tira again, play it with the palm of your hand, which is this. And if you combine that with ghe, which is that ghe, if you combine them, that tira becomes dhira, D-H-I-R-A, like Dhira, 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 like that. And so you combine these two drums together and make different phrases like dha tira kite taka, dhira dhira kite taka, taka tira kite taka, thuna kite taka, dhire dhire kite taka, dha tira kite taka, tiri tiri kite taka, dhire dhire kite ta tira kite taka, and so on. Many thousands of phrases like that, and you just make different compositions with them phrases.
When you write the music, do you write it with the syllables?
Actually, most of our music is not written. It's strictly improvised, but it could be written down. But whenever we do write the music, it's all syllabalized. Yes, we write them with syllables. Every rhythm cycle has a different division to it. Like you have 4/4, 6/8, and so on. We have 360 of those different rhythms, which range from about 4 beats on to 108 beats. It's interesting. It's amazing. I don't know of anybody who can master all those rhythms in one lifetime. Now I'll go twice as fast as this.
Percussion is another program in the series Music Makers, which is produced and presented as a public service by Standard Oil Company of California.